Hello, yes, it's us here at Who's Views, and this one is Visitations. I'm joined, as you can see here, by Bedwyr, who's here to tell us all about his recent trip to the BFI. Hello, Bedwyr. Now you're here to tell us about your recent trip to the BFI.
I mean, it was indeed a recent trip to the BFI. I've just about shaken off the hangover.
Oh
Um,
dear, it's all coming out now, isn't it, everybody?
the BFI bar is where the evening ends.
Oh, really? Well, that's good to know. Well, listen, we are talking to everybody live on this particular edition of Visitation. So let's just see everybody in the chat. Hello, thank you for joining us. We've got Garbage here saying hello, everyone. I know that Kirsty is also in the chat. She's getting a lot of people to subscribe to the channel. She's always telling me, make sure you mention subscribe to the channel. So please subscribe if you haven't already.
Subscribe.
Exactly. Meddling Funk is here saying good evening. Hello to you. We've got Pete here saying hello. Thank you for joining us all. And we've got Matt, the silent wee music king, saying it's me. Hooray! I'm glad it's you and not somebody else. That's brilliant. Well done, Matt. He's been busy today looking at all that sort of thing, apparently. Oh, Just Jordan is here with us, saying evening. Hello, Just Jordan. Nice to see you. Stephen is here. Hello. Hi, everyone, says Stephen. Where we go. Oh, look, and Pete's saying hello to us. Isn't that lovely?
Hello.
Hello. Yes, so we are here to talk about this. This, of course, was the season 15 Blu-ray on limited edition packaging sort of launch, wasn't it, Bedwyr? They do this regular, and you're a big fan of these things. You go a lot, don't you?
I try and I've been through the last few in a row. I like to try and keep that record going for as long as possible. Because they're great events. They're wonderful events. NFT one, the theatre at BFI South Bank is a bit on the small side, and it could probably be sold out, several times over. So it is a hot ticket, as they say.
Yeah.
But the events they put on are really, really great, and I just, more than anything, I just love seeing Doctor Who on a big screen. And these episodes have been spruced up for Blu-ray, and the particular version of Horror Fan Rock that we watched had new effects and all this sort of stuff, and it just that communal atmosphere as well of all laughing at the same moment, and it's lovely watching Doctor Who with a decent size audience and on a big screen. So they're great events, and I love them.
From what you've told me about these, I'd love to go to one, but it's far too far from where I am. But it reminds me of back in the day at the conventions I used to go to when the show was off there, late 80s and into the 90s, where in a particular room at most conventions, there would just be a load of seats and a screen. And you would share that experience of watching some of these fantastic stories with other fans, and you would criticize it and you would love it, and you would point things out and you say, oh, he was in Miss Marple the other day or something like that,
Yeah, I mean, the big Doctor Who celebration of 1983. One of the big things was the screening room where they had, episodes from the 60s. That this was long before video. Now everyone assumes that you can just watch it on iPlayer whenever you want, or you've got copies of it on DVD. But no, that communal joint experience of watching the same thing at the same time, it still really works. It's really nice.
Well, let's go with it. I mean, you took a couple of pictures for us as well, and we got the.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us all about this. So this one particularly here. Now, I recognise Louise Jameson straight away, but tell us about this. Who was at this gig?
So Louise was basically the star of the show, and rightly so. And
Quite
she
right,
got biggest reaction of the audience. She looked fabulous. She's just a wonderful energy to her anyway.
Yeah.
But to be in front of an audience that clearly, appreciates her acting ability for a start, but also the character of Leela really has connected with people and still resonates with people. And yeah, the queue to get an autograph from Louise was massive.
Was it?
The length of the building and down
Well,
the stairs.
how many people were there roughly?
Oh, I don't know what the capacity is, but so unfortunately, the first screening I attended, which was very early on the Sunday morning, wasn't particularly full, which was a real shame. And we'll talk about the Graham Williams documentary in a bit.
Yeah.
But the afternoon session, apart from sort of a block of seats, which might have been a large group who ended up not being able to make it due to
Whatever these days. Yeah.
yeah, there was rail strikes on and all this sort of stuff.
There
And
was.
Sunday's
Yeah.
an awkward day anyway. So there were a
Yeah.
few empty seats, but pretty much NFT one was full. And I don't know what the capacity is. It's got to be a few hundred people.
Well, that's not too bad, is it?
So it does. These things. I don't know if anyone's anyone in the chat has ever tried to buy tickets for these events. Basically, if you're a BFI member, you have half a chance if you remember the second they go on sale. These things now never get to go to general sale because they're gone just on NFT. BFI members. And it is something worth doing. I think it's £39 for the
Yeah,
year.
if you can afford it and you're interested in it, why not? Because it's not just Doctor Who, of course, that they focus on at the BFI, is it?
Absolutely not. There were screenings of 2 Bond films after Doctor Who. So there's loads of stuff that BFI do. So I highly recommend, if you're interested, looking at their what's on calendar and if you are particularly interested and like what they do, then memberships not too bad for how much you spend on Netflix a month. That adds up to more than the BFI over a year.
Yeah, so if you're in and around London, you can get to it. It's worth looking at, isn't it, really? Let's just say Matt Strikes here saying hi all. So nice to see you. Thank you. And George, hope you're feeling better. Hope you're feeling better, because George has been poorly recently. He says 450 seats, if he remembers correctly. And I think you do, because Just Jordan is also agreeing with you with 450 capacity. Does it feel like 450 when you're in there?
It doesn't feel like 450. It feels more intimate than that, actually. I don't know why. Because it's probably this. It is the biggest screening room that they have in the BFI South Bank. I don't imagine the IMAX across the road has a capacity that's quite that big. It might do. I don't know. But I remember what last year there was the Film on Film Festival at the BFI, which is a great project they have, and we watched the black and white 16mm prints of Spearhead from Space in a tiny little room, and there was just fold out chairs, and there was only about sort of 4 or 5 rows deep, and that was even more intimate. But still, NFT one seems quite intimate. It's nice.
It might be the color, because it looks really, it's that sort of cinema red, isn't it? It looks really good. So we've got this picture here. Now, you were saying there that you watched they showed, obviously because it's this particular season, that's Pete McTeague there, is it?
Yeah. So after we watched all 4 episodes of Fang Rock, we saw the final battle, I think it's called, the trailer for the box set announcement.
Yeah, Leela and the final, Leela versus the Daleks. I think they've put it under, haven't they? Yeah.
I think the episode title within the title sequence is the final battle or something.
It is,
like that. So we had Pete McTeague came on with Louise, and they discussed that and how it's a very they're all with the facts in the chat, aren't they?
Oh, they're good. They're good.
So basically the story behind the trailer was that they'd had a very limited amount of time, only a few hours to shoot, a very small crew of less than 10 people in a quarry somewhere with a bit of green screen and loads of post-production.
I quite like that, because it means you can get it done properly and quickly and efficiently when it's a smaller crew. That's just my experience of doing things like that as well.
Yeah, it's very easy for those things to become bloated, and I mean, this has become the most watched video, or of these trailers on
well done. Yeah,
it's great. So it really again proves my point that Leela is connected as a character and is still resonating with people, and it's a great scene, and it is only a few minutes. It was a shame that sort of Pete McTeague kind of alluded to the fact that these, because we had Defenders of Earth with the Sea Devil,
Yeah.
and a lovely tribute to Stuart Bevan. And you know, they've done a few in a row now. You had Sarah Sutton and Janet Fielding for season 20,
The Tamara
and
one. Yeah.
they're becoming more and more difficult to top. He basically admitted.
That's the
So
problem, isn't it? I'm glad that he's
yeah,
admitted that, because the expectations are so high now with these things, and he's actually set the bar for himself very high.
very, very high. Yeah, I mean they're tremendous. They're wonderful. You know, even the way back when we had, what was it, season 26, and it was just Sophie Aldred, you know, looking out the window at London on a skyscraper,
Nice
and
and easy. Yeah.
yeah, you know, now they've gone and really pushed things. The previous one Louise Jameson had done was with a Vok robot and stuff like that. You know, it's they are becoming now a bit more elaborate, and the amount of post production that was on this particular one, with, you know, Gallifrey being bombarded by Daleks and then the Daleks showing up and all that sort of stuff. So it's a really tremendous couple of minutes. But yeah, I don't know where you go from there. You know,
Did he say that this is just sustainable then, these sort of trailers, or is he going to try and alter it again and do something a little bit easier?
they might either take a break and go for more of a montagey clip kind of style. I think he, if I remember rightly, he alluded to them having an idea for the next one, but depends on the feasibility of it. So we'll see. But I think there was a possibility that they might sort of row back on them, have a little break from them, and do more of a more simple montage type setup,
A traditional type of trailer.
Yeah.
Well, as
And
long as it builds the excitement, that's fine, isn't it?
I mean, they're just to announce the release of the box sets, and you know, it's lovely that they go to the effort of filming a special trailer and you know, embedding things into the narrative, like they had with Leela. It's yeah, I don't know.
It's just a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work and effort for something that's only on YouTube, and
exactly, for 8 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah, you can't really monetize, you know, sales of the box sets to the trailer, can you? So
no. Well, the big thing about this, of course, is that they screened Horror of Fang Rock, which is fantastic. Now I can't imagine what that would look like on a massive screen, you know, that must be Matt, the Silent Wee Music King, was just saying that he's seen it recently and he thought it was okay. But for us, for my sort of generation, Horror of Fang Rock is actually a classic. You know, so what was it? I mean, they showed the slightly updated version, I take it, here on the big screen. What was it like?
Yes, it was very good. I mean, I love Horror of Fang Rock. I think it's absolute peak Doctor Who, and it's just Terrance Dicks doing a Doctor Who. It's just like you can say, oh well, it's just Base Under Siege. It's a rehash of that. It's very formulaic in terms of, you know, knocking each of the supporting cast off and all that sort of stuff. You know, but it doesn't feel like that at all. It's really engaging. The characters are fantastic, and the acting in it is brilliant, because each of them gets what their character is, whether it's the, you know, the older lighthouse keeper who's convinced that you never had any problem with oil and electricity is going to just not be reliable, or, you know, the slightly dodgy politician, shall we say, the even more dodgy businessman who's trying to get back to London to make a killing financially.
But you know what? They're all believable characters, Bedwyr, aren't they?
Exactly. They're really three-dimensional in the sense that you get that these characters have a history, and you know, there was a question about sort of motivation as an actor and things like that. And you can't, if you understand the character, then that sort of stuff is fairly easy to come about. And then you throw, you know, it is period, because it's, you know, I forget what the date is. It feels like sort of 20s, 30s, whenever, you know, it's sort of more it's a historical one.
Oh, totally, yeah.
But it's fairly easy to do because it's in a lighthouse.
That's the
And
magic of it as well, isn't it? Because,
yeah,
we'd never seen anything like that before in Doctor Who, certainly my age group. Here we are. And we know where a lighthouse is. It's on craggy rocks at the end, near the sea. The sea's obviously very dangerous. You've got the atmosphere, the way that it's shot, and it must have looked superb on the big screen. This whole thing, even all the model shots. They haven't tampered with the lighthouse at all, have they?
no. The design of the lighthouse is still as it was. I
Great,
think they've
good, good.
probably so there are certain shots where it's been updated because they've updated. So something like the route and climbing up the side of the lighthouse.
Right.
So things like that have been tweaked slightly, I think, and the crashing of the steam yachts was a new steam yacht, but it's it still fits the period and whatever. It's not anachronistic. It's the main standout really is the new Rutan.
Yes. Now you took a picture of this, wasn't it? Because we actually said when we did a Merchandise Paradise edition when they announced season 15,
yeah.
and Bedwyr and Paul and myself were talking about this and thinking, right, is this CGI or is it a puppet? And it seems to be a mix. Is that right, Bedwyr?
It is, yeah. So Chris Thompson, who, Chris Thompson, who has done these new effects and was involved in the trailer that we spoke about earlier. The Rutan is a physical creation that he's made. It looks really good, actually. It's really cool.
So is that the one there?
Yeah. So that's him holding it. It's quite heavy,
right.
given the materials used.
Right.
Very tentacly, and in the episode, it works really well because it does have that sort of bobbing effect as it's coming up the stairs.
Oh no!
Whereas the previous one kind of floated a bit, didn't it? Whereas this one, there feels like a definite movement and a more logical movement to it. So
really, it hasn't taken away from the story, then.
Absolutely not. No.
Oh, good, good.
And I mean, you really don't see the Rutan until episode 4, because it's all suggested with some spooky green lighting here and there, among the rocks and all that sort of stuff. So it's only at the very end, and obviously the sort of transmogrification of Reuben, because he's become possessed of it. Whereas there used to be a glow, they've added this effect where he kind of opens up a little bit to suggest that there's something inside him, and actually,
that sounds grotesque. That sounds awful.
It is a bit weird, yeah.
But that's part of the horror, I guess, of Fang Rock, isn't it? Really, that whole thing about it. Was it? I mean, what was people's reaction to seeing this on the big screen here?
From my perspective, everyone was applauding and loving it, and felt, talking to people afterwards, it felt that the new Rutan didn't wasn't a negative at all. It just added a little bit extra, added a little bit more believability almost, because
that's good.
The previous one was fine. I didn't really have any issues with it at all.
No,
but seeing this slightly newer version was like, oh, okay, that just adds a bit more to the drama, really.
Oh, that's interesting, because this is the problem when they update certain things, isn't it, Bedwyr? Sometimes you can go, oh, no, it's a bit naff.
Yeah, and it in fairness, I think this combination of sort of computer generated stuff along with a physical prop, I think having a physical prop makes all the difference, really. Realistically, that's the big thing. You can add bits around it and whatever, movement or whatever, through CGI, but having a physical thing seems to be a better way of doing it. It was interesting, actually. Louise Jameson, she remembered just acting towards the staircase.
Yes,
suggested that there wasn't a creature there before. They'd obviously designed and created some, the green shape that we saw on screen, but she didn't remember acting opposite it. So it's interesting.
No, I think it was all added data. I think it was all FX.
Yeah.
So, we've got quite a lot of people watching us, Bedwyr. Thank you to everybody that's tuning in to watch Bedwyr's report from the BFI and the season 15 launch. Nathan is here saying to us, it has atmosphere, horror Fang Rock, tension and a brilliant adventure. It certainly does. Yeah, hello to Digby. Digby's saying it's blown a gale down where he lives, and it feels like a horror of Fang Rock tonight. I hope not. I hope not. Hi to also Davy Dredd. Horror Fang Rock Lighthouse would look fantastic on the big screen for sure.
Yeah, it really did. It was really good. And it's funny because I believe it's the only sort of studio where they did it in Pebble Mill in Birmingham.
They did, yeah, that's right.
And
They did it all the way up in Pebble Mill. Yeah,
all of that was achieved, inside the Pebble Mill Studios.
fantastic.
Studio A, C.
George is saying he's convinced Terrence Dicks had seen So Bad It's Early Good early 70s British horror movie called Tower of Evil and borrowed it for Fang Rock. It wouldn't surprise me because that's what a lot of those classics that we now know as classic did, wouldn't he? He's also telling us, I remember the Lighthouse model on display at the original Blackpool exhibition way back. I've got some photos of it somewhere. Fantastic, because I remember seeing that lighthouse as well. I remember it being smaller than I expected, to be quite honest, as a little boy, because I thought it was going to be huge. Because for some reason on the telly, George, I thought it was a massive. And do you know what I mean? It was in that lovely glass case, wasn't it, back then? It was just a lot smaller than I remember. What else we got here? Kirsty would be saying if she went along, she'd be like a kid at the cinema with oohs and ahs.
That's exactly it. That's it. And you're all reacting to the same lines, and people around you are reacting at the same time. It's always it's what makes these things great.
It really does, doesn't it? Peter saying root and lime jelly, but I wouldn't like to eat one. You're very strange sometimes, Pete, isn't it? It's look, a bit of root and I'll have that on my toast. Yes. Well, we got Blue Worm. Hello, Blue Worm. I think one of my cats coughed up a rootin' the other day.
Nice.
Always. Always. But no. So I showed that picture before. Go on. Go on.
No, just to mention it, you mentioned Terrence Dicks as a writer.
Oh yeah,
it's an Agatha Christie bit. He's doing, and then there were none, basically. That's but in a lighthouse with a alien creature, coming up the stairs.
Yeah,
it's not it's borrowing elements from a lot of different places.
It was one of the thrilling things, Bedwyr, that I remember as a kid watching this on first broadcast over 4 Saturdays. Who's next? Who's getting it next? It was tense and atmospheric, this whole thing. So I'm quite envious that you've seen it on the big screen, even because it must be a different experience, especially when you've got around about 400 fans in the same room as you as well. That must be lovely.
Absolutely. And you're aware that Louise Jameson's sitting there watching it and stuff like that.
Did she actually watch it all with you?
I'm not sure if she was in for the whole thing. She was kind of the opposite end of the room to me, but she was, when the actors then came on and were chatting about it, they really spoke highly of having enjoyed watching it.
Oh, that's good, because we've got this picture as well. So who's this?
So Justin Johnson on the very left next to Louise is one of the presenters at the BFI. Great guy, really good interview actually.
All right, great.
So alongside Louise Jameson, you had John Abbott and Annette Willett, who were both acting. So John Abbott was Vince.
Vince, yeah.
I remember. I was watching it, and there was a point where I suddenly realised, Vince is going to get killed off here, and I really like Vince.
I think everybody liked Vince.
Yeah,
he's one of those likable characters, isn't he? And that you just know he's going to get bumped off because he's likable.
Yeah, he's just got that really nice way about him, and it's like, no, I'm gonna have to.
And that was Adelaide, wasn't it?
Yeah. So Adelaide, who is so obviously the first thing that comes
Willett,
up
is it?
Sorry,
it's Annette Willett, isn't it?
Annette Willett, yeah. So Annette Willett, who played Adelaide, and obviously the big thing is Leela slapping the hysterical Adelaide at some point. And Lou was told not to hold back. Don't do do it properly. Don't do a stage slap. Do a proper one. And she didn't hold back. In fairness, so.
So they came on and they chatted about it, and they obviously remembered their 4 episodes that they did. So what was the interview like? Was it enjoyable? Was there any gossip?
So I mean, the day got broken up a little bit. So Justin spoke with Louise Jameson separately, for briefly having been on with Pete Matai, discussing the trailer. So Justin then did a one-on-one kind of interview with Lou before John Abbott and Annette Woollock came on to talk about Fang Rock specifically. So Louise was talking about her relationship with Tom, which she's been a bit more vocal about, and said how it was difficult, and said how it was tough, but that Horror Fang Rock was a real turning point for them, where they really sort of started to gel, and there are lots of lovely moments that you do pick up on a big screen where there's a great bit where Leela suggests the thing with the lamp at the very end to knock off the Rutan ship or whatever, and just the smile and the glint in her eye because the Doctor has complimented her and said that's a brilliant idea, and just her face lights up, so that you can tell that their relationship is starting to really connect, and they're on great form together, and they go through the rest of season 15 really strongly, I think.
Were there any standout moments at the screening where all the fans were just really, really excited about anything or appreciative of anything at all in any of it, whether it be in the episodes or in the interview process? Or
I think the reaction to Louise coming on stage was probably the biggest reaction. I mean, in terms of the episode itself, probably the slap actually got.
Oh, really?
There's a bit of cheering because Adelaide's being absolutely hysterical, and you just come on.
Yeah.
And I think it's great when there are funny lines and you're all laughing as a group.
That's great.
That's really nice.
Yeah, and Leela's on top form in this, not just because of Louise's performance, but because of the way she's written in this. I mean, one of my favorite lines in this is where Leela says, where Adelaide's screaming and getting all this hysteria, and Leela says, "Oh, something like, has she not seen death before?" Well,
yes.
No.
Yeah, probably not. And there's another bit where I can't remember the character's name, but the unscrupulous business bloke who's demanding that he needs to get back to London, despite the Doctor saying you have to stay here and stay safe, and she just pulls her knife and says, "I'll cut out your heart."
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah.
To which Tom just reacts of, "Yeah, there you go. Sit down and shut up."
Yeah.
There's lovely moments like that. It's just full of them, and it's just you really get in the character, and she's learning, and then obviously the big thing at the end is where her eyes change color because she Louise had to wear lenses.
She did for her first few stories. She didn't like them either. Did she mention this at all?
Yeah, she found them quite painful. So basically what she said, and I don't think I'd realised this, was that they weren't actually, because I think they were brown.
Mm-hmm.
Or on screen they looked as brown, but they're actually red. So if you've got red lenses in, it really distorts your vision. And so every couple of hours she'd have to take them out and have a break from them. So this whole process was getting on her nerves. And she thinks it was she thought it was Graham Williams's suggestion. Rather than her saying, "Oh, please, can I take these damn lenses out?" As a pro, she was just get on with it. But Graham Williams had suggested that actually they could use it, and they built it into the end, and it's the explosion that causes color pigmentation change. So, so that was that's an interesting insight from the Q&A.
I mean, considering that we have to say Horror Fang Rock was an 11th hour story, really, wasn't it? What happened is that they were supposed to have a vampire story in this season, and the BBC said, "No, you can't have a vampire story because we're doing this big version, this big glossy version of Dracula," I think it was.
Dracula, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they said you can't do that. So Terence had to write Horror Fang Rock very, very quickly, and it's amazing, really, that that doesn't show at all because of everything we've talked about here. They're four very solid 25-minute episodes that tell a story from beginning, middle, and end. Proper story. You can show this now, as you have just seen, in this day and age, and people would understand this and be able to follow the story and get involved and entertained by this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is Terrence being an absolute pro at what he does. And yeah, obviously we will get that vampire story with State of Decay.
Yes, it
The
comes
following
later on.
season.
Yeah,
No, season after
2
that.
seasons later. Yeah,
Yeah. And it's
3 seasons later. Yeah,
but he understands what he's doing with it. Like, he knows where it's going. He's got his idea of, I think there was, because the comment about go and get the big boys book of lighthouses from Robert Holmes, the script editor, to go away and write this, because he'd said something similar to Bob Holmes when he'd been tasked with writing The Time Warrior.
Yeah. Well, we've got George here telling us as well, Bedwyr. Oh, I can bring this up. Taking the contacts in and out also used up valuable studio time. So there was a very practical reason why they were ditched, as well as Louise's well-being. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I remember Louise telling stories over the years about those blooming contacts. And you're right, Bedwyr. She never really complained at the time because she's a pro and she was told to wear them. They wanted the character to have the brown eyes. It must have been such a relief for her that she could, and she's got dazzling blue eyes as well, Lou.
Yeah.
It's such a shame to cover them up.
Absolutely.
Pete's saying that as well. Look at that, Pete. She has amazing. If ever you get to meet Louise Jameson, you notice her eyes. They are absolutely stunning, aren't they, Pete? They're gorgeous. And they are that sort of rich, bedazzling, enticing blue as well. It's like you're being bewitched by this wonderful person. She's like, hello, and you're like, ooh, absolutely fantastic. So that's great. And Stephen is saying to us, a great atmosphere for Fang Rock and a ton of suspense, something sadly lacking in this modern era. Yeah, I mean that's why I think these stories, mate, are always very popular. With brand new audiences. I mean, I reckon you could show Horror Fang Rock on BBC One prime time now over 4 nights or 4 weeks, and the British public would still enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everyone in the audience thoroughly enjoyed it. Everyone was, it's not universes in peril kind of massive, season finale kind of story. It's a season opener that gives you everything you want from Doctor Who. It's a bit period in Earth history. It gives you a funny new alien creature, and it gives you tremendous characters and a story that is easy to follow. And for me, it's the part 3 cliffhanger where the Doctor realizes, oh, I've messed up here. I've locked the enemy inside with us instead of outside, and that's
scary.
It's terrifying because you never really see the Doctor, at that stage in particular, because it's Tom being wonderful. But you never see him really sort of admitting, oh, I've messed up here.
Yeah. Well, I remember being worried for a week because I got the cliffhanger and had to wait for the next Saturday. Unlike you, that probably only had to wait a couple of seconds. No, we had to wait a whole week to find out about that. And that was shocking, where he said, I've locked the thing in with us. Oh, no! And you just, all these things go off saying, how's he going to get out of this? And who's he going to, but then you just knew that other people were going to pop off because the thing was in there. Oh my goodness, it was so exciting back then. Listen, thank you very much for watching us. You are watching Who's Views Visitations, and we're talking to Bedwyr here, who has been off at the BFI over the last couple of days watching the season 15 Blu-ray collection event where they showed Horror of Fang Rock on the big screen with the new Rutan. Rutan's, of course, very important because they're the mortal enemy of the Sontarans, and that was the other big thing about Horror of Fang Rock, to eventually see what a Rutan looked like.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're mentioned all the way back to the Sontarans' first appearance, aren't they? With
in Time Warrior, I'm sure they were. Yeah, I'm sure they're mentioned in that. Yeah,
certainly the next one, Sontaran Experiment. But so it was finally getting an idea of what are these Rutans, and it's a wonderful addition to Doctor Who, and it's something Big Finish are currently exploring as well.
Yeah, the guys are saying, Simon's here saying she has blue eyes in the new trailer. I've just checked, so they're still there then, so that's great. And Blue Worm Leela got some very nice glamorous close-ups, blue eyes and all in the Sunmakers. I think you might need a cup of tea, Blue Worm. And Nathan is saying that scene, by morning we might all be dead. And the way that Tom delivers that lovely line, of course,
Oh,
It's just
absolutely.
brilliant. It's just so I care. I don't care really. It's that sort of thing, isn't it? Really, absolutely fantastic way he delivers that line.
Yeah, he
Thank you
just
all
comes.
for your chat coming along. Go
He
on.
comes into the room and is like, "I've got I've got news for you all. There's an alien creature who's attacking this lighthouse, and we might all be dead by the morning." And he just does it with a beaming
Brilliant.
smile. It's wonderful.
It is, isn't it? It's just magical the way he delivers it. It's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. Now, listen, the other thing, especially that you wanted to tell us about, because they showed the documentary, didn't they, about Graham?
They did. So this was 9:30 on a Sunday morning, and I alluded to it earlier. So it wasn't a full screening because it is it is tricky to get into London very very early like that.
Yeah.
But one absolute treat that was completely worth making the effort to go and see. It is a fantastic documentary. I've got to be honest.
Yeah.
So for those who have their season 26 box set, remember the John Nathan Turner documentary, Showman, I think it's called. It's very much in that style. It's Chris Chapman and Moon Balloon films doing the same sort of thing in terms of brand new interviews with, in Graham's case, family, his
Oh,
wife,
wow.
and three kids, plus everyone that obvious that you'd think of has worked with him on Doctor Who, and then some other people that knew him throughout his life and career, and it's just so beautifully put together. The interviews are obviously the bulk of it. There is some archive material of Graham Williams at conventions,
Oh,
telling
right.
his story intermittently through as well. So that's quite
Yeah.
nice. So hearing a bit of Graham Williams telling, certain stories about, what do you call it, budget shrinkage with the inflation and, trying to balance the budget of a program like Doctor Who and things like that he was having to.
Yeah.
But it's interesting you mentioned that how Terrence's vampire story went down, and he had to write Fan Rock. City of Death is a wonderful one of the greatest stories, and that's the infamous David Agnew, which is Graham Williams and Douglas Adams. It's
Yeah.
out of just the creative skill that Graham Williams had, and it's a shame we never got the Nightmare Fair, which was another Doctor Who that he'd written a bit later on. So
Yes, that's true. Yeah,
um
1985. Yeah.
and I didn't realize quite how young he was when he took on the producership of Doctor Who. He's
Oh, yeah.
very and his sort of journey wasn't an obvious one. He's kind of accelerated through from a theatre background as a stage manager, and then an assistant floor manager, and much in the same way that Nathan Turner would have done. But
That's how you did it in the BBC in those days as well. You started at the bottom. If you were very lucky and you showed interest and enthusiasm, you could make your way around.
But he progressed very quickly, and everyone obviously talks about how he's so smart, so creative, such a really good person to be around, and just a very not quiet figure, but a very steady kind of person that you would really want at the helm for something like Doctor Who, where anything can go wrong, and an effect might not work, or a monster looks awful, and very calmly and constructively able to deal with those sorts of situations. Just as a documentary, it was wonderful. I think there is a decent documentary already on. I think it's the Key to Time season on the DVD.
Yes, I remember that one. Yeah, it's quite interesting,
which is quite good. But this is another level up. Honestly, it's I smiled, I laughed, and at the end I cried. It was it's a it's a really tragic end. And I won't go into it. For people that
I've got to buy the Blu-ray. Yeah.
Want to watch the Blu-ray set, and it is a shame that it's not out for was it the 18th of March? So we're about 5-6 weeks away. So it's a little
it comes out on the on March the 18th.
Yeah. So, but honestly, if people get hold of their box set, This documentary, Darkness and Light, should be the first thing they watch because it is superb. It is quite long. It's not a short 30 minutes. It's very
I was going to
very
ask you,
in
how long
depth.
is it?
Yeah, I think it was certainly over an hour,
That's
possibly about
incredible. That's
75
incredible.
minutes. Yeah.
Do you know? I don't think any one of us is going to mind that, because I'm just going to put this up. George is saying this here. I was actually thinking that Graham Williams must be the most underrated individual in Doctor Who history. Decades ago, he had the conversation where we explained all the challenges he's faced. Now, George, you're really, really lucky there. I never got to meet Graham Williams,
Oh,
and I think he is one of those. Yeah, that a lot of fans, similar to David Whittaker, for example, a lot of fans didn't get to meet this man just because he was taken from us so early, and certainly in the early days of fandom, as the conventions are really starting to become a thing. And I'm very interested in Graham Williams because his take on Doctor Who is a little bit different. I'm really excited to be hearing about this. This is a big documentary. I'm going to be there watching this. I'm really excited about it because, as I say, he's an enigma. A lot of us don't understand him because we never met him. So therefore, his era can be overlooked slightly. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah.
No, I completely agree. I think he is very overlooked, as obviously, Verity stands out as the first producer,
Yeah.
and Terence and Barry Letts had a wonderful relationship, so their period with the third Doctor is brilliant, and John's
always remembered because it was such a long time. Yeah,
such a long period. But Graham Williams comes in at a time where you've got the Mary Whitehouse furore, and he says that the day he was offered the job was the day Mary Whitehouse complained about Deadly Assassin.
Oh, was it? I never knew that. So they actually find that out and talk about.
Apparently, well, that's the story that Graham Williams tells, and they're pretty close together.
Right. Okay.
And so his whole task really was to make Doctor Who not necessarily less violent, but to come across as less violent.
Yes. Well, he was told to do that as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, and try and avoid the backlash, and so there is a bit more of a lighter feel generally. We have things like the Invisible Enemy and stuff like that, which is but there's still dark stuff there. It's still Horror Fan Rock, which we're obviously talking about, is a very, very dark and grim kind of story, because you've got loads of characters being bumped off. It was just how that violence came across on screen. And actually, I was quite surprised. There was a point where they were moving one of the bodies and you saw a flash of blood. It's like, oh, you don't really see that very often, but it is still there, and it's just the way it is depicted was a bit different. And that was a task Graham Williams was tasked with, and he delivered the highest ratings Doctor Who's ever got.
Yes,
assisted by ITV being on strike, but
Well, yes, that was a contributing factor, but I think the series would have done well anyway, because I remember those series that Graham produced, because it was. We've said this on the show before during our Tom Baker birthday shows. Doctor Who was part of the golden age of BBC Saturday night television. Yeah, it really, and I think even if ITV hadn't been there, I think people would have tuned in, because the lineup on Saturday nights on BBC One was so strong. Tuning in from the end of Grandstand, and then Doctor Who was in there, the Gen Game was in there, you had your comedy in there, you would have the Duchess of Duke Street or whatever the equivalent drama was in there. People loved Saturday night television, and when you've got big players like Tom and Bruce Forsyth, the two Ronnies, Morecambe and Wise, whatever quiz show or whatever, and then the big players in the dramas as well. You're on to a winner there. So I think they would have come and watched it anyway.
Yeah, and they're producing brilliant stuff. It's the Graham Williams era is so good. Obviously the key to time, having an overarching story covering a season. He couldn't implement that for his first year because it was there wasn't enough time to do that. But it's an idea that's used constantly in the new series. How many sort of overarching arcs do we see?
Oh, I know, too much
with the silence and the crack in the wall from Stephen Moffat, or series 3 where it's You Are Not Alone and there's the
Yeah,
Master's Return and
yeah,
all that stuff.
yeah.
You know, it's a trend that's really percolated through. So perhaps even, you know, at the time Graham Williams was a bit ahead of his time thinking about overarching stories as well. So
Maybe. I think they would have all really been really busy trying to get things in the can. There was an old saying that Terence used to have was that they were all, and Barry used to have, that they were all so busy knowing that they had to have things in the can so that they didn't have to show the old colour card at 5:15 on a Saturday night, which was this old thing you used to get when the shows were off for the youngsters in the audience. But I mean, it's great that you had a great time here and what have you. So, you know, thanks for coming on and telling us all about this. I'm really looking forward to getting this when it comes out.
yeah,
On I don't get these, as you know. I get the standard editions, you know. But I mean, did you get any freebies at all when you were here at this particular one? Were they giving any postcards out or anything like that?
I think the signing you had the artwork on a postcard available, because obviously, you know,
Yeah.
it's a while yet before we've been able to get our box sets. So they do these things in advance of the box set actually coming out, because it would have been great to have Louis Jameson sign your box set. But they have, you know, the artwork on postcards to have signed instead, which is really nice. And it is really great artwork. You know, we did debate it in our merchandise paradise, the use of the new routing on the cover and whatever.
Yes.
But,
Did anybody mention that at all, or was it okay? Do you think?
I think people were fine with it. I don't think it doesn't deviate too much from the original design. It's just a bit more practical, and you know, there's an eye, so you actually have a focal point to.
Let's have a look at it again here, shall we? Let's have a look at that puppet again. It's a puppet. I mean, look at that. Did he do a little bit of ventriloquism with that or not? No.
No, not really.
Did it say hello, everybody? It does look very interesting, though. Did he say what it was made of?
Oh yeah, and I can't remember for the life of me.
Not papier mâché, is it?
Because no, because Chris Thompson was making the thing, and suddenly realised he didn't have enough of the stuff, and had to dash out quickly before
That's
all
very
the harness
BBC and
was
Doctor Who. Yeah.
there.
Oh, bless.
I really wish I could remember the material now, but it's gone.
Yeah. Well, this is a good one for you, because just Jordan's asking you, because you, as I say here, Bedwyr tends to try and get to all these BFI screenings when he can. And just Jordan wants to know if you could pick any story at all to be on the big screen from Doctor Who, which would you choose? So which would you ideally choose, Bedwyr, to look at?
Probably. Do you know what? I wish I had gone to the season 26 screenings. My personal pick would have been Curse of Fenric, you see, because I adore Fenric, and I think it is close to as cinematic a Doctor Who as we had in the classic series, in my opinion, because I think it's wonderfully. It is like a creepy period war / vampire thriller. And you know, there is an omnibus edition, I think which works quite well. And I think that would be my pick, Curse of Fenric, probably. Yeah.
Good. That's interesting.
How about you, JT?
I would like to see Bedwyr and Just Jordan. He says, thinking about this on the spot. Ooh. I would have said Horror of Fangrock, but that obviously has just been put through.
It was my pick for
I know. I know what I'd like to see. I've watched it recently, and it's Planet of Evil.
Oh, okay.
Because I'd like to see that beautiful set, the jungle set.
Yeah.
On the big screen, because the way it's lit and because it's so gorgeous, isn't it? It's one of the best sets in TV history, that Planet of Evil set, and the antimatter monster might come across really quite well. So I'm going to go for Planet of Evil.
Well,
Matt is saying he would choose the 5 Doctors.
Yet, so.
Well, you never know. You never know what they might do with that. Matt is saying he'd choose the 5 Doctors for that one, and Blue Worm is telling us the new Rutan looks like it's silicone. There are many brands available nowadays that are very easy. So is that right, Bedwyr? Yeah.
Yeah, silicone. That sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the 5 Doctors was what they showed last time.
Yes, they did for season 20, because they showed their new version, didn't they?
Yeah, and that was pretty good. Enjoyed that.
The new version. Peter says, has Genesis in the Dark's been shown at the BFI?
Almost certainly, yeah.
And Sam's just joined us.
Yeah.
He wants to know. He's like, he has to go back and rewatch. But has the Blu-ray collection trailers been stuck? Can you just fix that up for him again? Because you did mention that. What's happening with that again?
So there'll still be trailers. They just might not be quite as grand as they currently are, because it's
As theatrical love.
Yeah, as Pete McTighe said, they're a bit difficult to keep topping because they're getting very impressive, and they only have a limited budget and a couple of hours to shoot this stuff. So,
but they've done incredible considering that they're doing it like the old days. They're doing this sort of mini action-packed movie for 50p. Do you know what I mean? They are doing good. You said 10 production stuff on it as well. It's great. So there you go, Sam. There will still be trailers, but they may take a little break from these theatrical sort of ones here, which are narrative, which are part of a story. And just Jordan saying, thank you both. Good choices. Well,
what I am looking forward to, I'm hoping and wishing that when they eventually get round to season 11 and they do CGI dinosaurs, I wouldn't mind seeing that.
Actually, that's a good one, isn't it? And let's keep our fingers crossed that they are going to do the alternative CGI dinosaurs, because we all want that, don't we? We all want those, I mean, it's a cracking story let down by those effects. Let's face it, everyone. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Factored into the budget of these sets is one that gets some new effects, and surely it will be dinosaurs.
Sure. Can you imagine the uproar from all of us if they bring out season 11 and Invasion of the Dinosaurs hasn't had the updates when they're messing around with Rootons and stuff like that? They have to really. Come on, let's do that. George is saying here, in answer to that lovely question from Just Jordan, I have a home cinema set up and Carnival of Monsters looks great on the big screen. The Drashigs shot on film will look amazing. Actually, yeah, that's a good one, isn't it? That is really good. And Pete is saying to you, look what you've started here, Just Jordan. It's great. Earthshot would look great and a cracking soundtrack.
I love Earthshot.
And you're very welcome, Sam. You're very welcome. Yes. And Cybermatch Strikes is saying, I want CGI dinosaurs for Barry. I think we all do, really, don't we? I think we all want that. And Matt's saying, I have the Drashic puppet. They're very good, those puppets, aren't they?
Oh,
I've got that as well. Yeah, it was in the third Doctor set, wasn't it? Well, listen. Bedwyr, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Visitations here. And goodness knows when you'll next be at the BFI, and goodness knows what you'll be next going to see. Have you got any plans at all?
Well, the next screening is actually next month, before even season 15 comes out, and it's going to be the Celestial Toymaker animation.
And you're off to that, are you?
We'll see. I mean, the Underwater Menace animation screening was not a sellout at the moment.
No, you told us that, didn't you? Yeah, you came and told us that. Yeah.
So that's so we'll see how Toymaker does. But yeah, I mean, I'm interested to see how the animation works. I'll hold my opinions until I see it properly.
Absolutely, that's what you got. And then you can come back on here and we'll do another one. You can tell us all about it, because some of us might be buying it and some of us won't be until it's like $5.99 in the bargain bin. But we'll see. So anyway, listen, again, thanks very much for spending your time with us, Bedwyr, telling us all about that. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody that's been in the chat with us tonight for this show with Bedwyr, talking all about this. Really appreciate it. Please, if you've just found us, please subscribe to our channel. Everybody, please like the video. I know Kirsty's been asking, but please, everybody, please like the video. Do subscribe to the channel. Stay with us. And we will be back very soon here on Who's Views for some more updates, news, our views and your views. It is Who's Views. So thank you so much. Say goodnight to everybody, Bedwyr.
Good night. Go pre-order season 15.
It is available from March the 18th. So there you go. You can get it on the shelves from March the 18th, but of course you can pre-order it as a broadcast right now. Until we see you again next time on Who's Views, look after yourselves. See you next time. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.